All right, everyone's joining. We'll give people a few minutes to join and then we'll get going. I'm Chris Heller, Chief Growth Officer for Lower and Movoto. Very excited about our masterclass today. Uh, there's someone in chat. I know who it is. It's going to be James Baumgartner in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. All right. Hey, for everyone that's joined, let us know where you're joining us from. Put it in chat. We want to see what city you're in or what part of the country. I'll put mine in. Look at James, not the only one in Lancaster, PA. All right, I see Tom from my team in San Diego. I love it. All right, so we'll give another minute. Again, this is Chris Heller. Super excited about our masterclass today. Longtime friend that I'm going to be introducing here shortly. If you guys don't have pen and paper, pencil and pad, chalk and chalkboard, dry erase pen and whiteboard, whatever you take notes on, have something because you're going to want to take a lot of notes. You're going to get a lot of good information. Let's see how we're doing. All right. Okay. Um, we're just gonna jump right into this. All right. You guys are here to get value. We're gonna make sure value is delivered. Uh, I want to introduce Tim Harris. If for those of you that don't know Tim, you've been missing out. You should follow him on social media. Tim and his wife Julie have one of the top coaching companies in the country. I met them in the 90s, and they do it right. When someone asks me about real estate books. There's a couple books I always recommend. Yes, one of them is mine, Dominant Thoughts, but one of them is Tim and Julie's book called Harris Rules. Harris Rules, Rules. It's great book for people getting into real estate or people that are in real estate that want to do more and do better. Uh, Tim has a wealth of experience, a lot to share. Tim, thank you for being here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to be with our group. And we're excited about this topic of how to crush it in the fourth quarter to make sure that you have a great 2026.
Well, when Chris Heller comes calling, I always say yes. That's been true since the first day I met you. So I'll always continue with that pattern. But I have to say, Chris, of all, Julie and I have been selling real estate since we were in our early 20s. And I'm 55 now, so you can do the math. And our first full year in the business, we sold over 100 homes. And then we went on for almost a decade selling between 100 and 200 homes per year. And all those years, and we've coached for far more years now than we've sold real estate. But in all the fourth quarters that I can remember for all those past years, this fourth quarter excites me more than all the others combined. Can I tell you why?
Yeah.
There is, and I know this is a little obtuse, and I'm going to try not to get wonkish or too boring, but there are more things happening right now with housing that are going to build such an enormous surge of momentum into 2026 that it's going to feel for many people overwhelming. And we can drill down on all that, but Julie and I have done a ton of podcasts on this, but I'll underline it with this one, I think, clearly understandable, easily comprehended point. And I'm not being political when I say this. So if your reaction to what I'm about to say is one of any kind of revulsion because you think I'm being political, pull back from that and just remember your highest and truest purpose in this planet is to be of service to other people. And in your case, because you have a real estate license, is to be of service to obviously your buyers and your sellers. All right. So with that said, the housing Trump administration is going to declare some kind of housing emergency. He said that. Julie and I played around with the idea that it's going to be called Make Housing Great Again. So if you go to Google and you Google Make Housing Great Again, you're going to see all the past podcasts we've done on it. And I'll give you, for example, Chris, I know you know what mortgage porting is. But I'm going to give you guys for example. There are 20 things Julie and I came up with, and we're refining it all the time. We've done that same podcast now 4 times. But there are 20 things of which at this point I'd say 12 we're confident that are going to be part of this new housing plan. And the others were being somewhat speculative, but with an informed speculation. For example, there's something called mortgage porting. And with mortgage porting, for example, the idea is that let's say you're one of these blessed people with super low mortgage interest rates, and that's keeping you in your house or giving you an incentive to stay longer than you otherwise would have. Well, with mortgage porting, you can actually port your existing mortgage to the next purchase. So let's say, for example, you have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at, 2.5%, whatever it is. You can actually keep that mortgage and you can apply it to your next purchase. Don't ask me the mechanics of it yet, but mortgage porting is something that's been available in other parts of the world, and that is something that we've seen breadcrumbs are being put in place, and Fannie Freddie are working on ways to make that so that it's going to be doable given the existing system. And there's no doubt. I mean, Trump last week or the week before said, there's 2 million unbuilt residential home sites. I'm not really sure how he defines that, but there you go. So he's already said that there's going to be the biggest emphasis is going to be on new construction as far as opportunities. There's going to be new kinds of mortgage products that are coming out. Interest rates right now, if you're in a marketplace with builders, I'm kind of fire hosing you guys, but I'm just, sprinkling some facts on you with regards to why we feel that this is going to be one of the best spring markets that we've ever experienced. But interest rates, you see builders in your marketplaces, and if you're not aware of this, you need to be aware of it. Someone can walk into any builder, DR Horton, doesn't matter who, and they can get right now a fixed, or it's sometimes fixed, sometimes it's an adjustable rate, and the rates are going to be in the fours. They're buying down rates. The lenders are using like $12,000 of the purchase price to buy down the rate. And maybe the introductory rate is for 7 years. Or in some cases, we've seen in Iowa, for example, where we have a lot of folks, there's I forget what the big builder is, but he's getting a fixed rate mortgage right now at 4.75% for 30 years. How about that? So all of the winds are about to be at our backs. Inventory across the country is increasing. Some markets are the agents who are inexperienced dealing with a balanced market, let alone a buyer's market, are experiencing I would call it frankly, a skills deficit. They don't know how to deal with price reductions and positioning houses on the market to correctly reflect the market's expectations, all those types of things. But the overarching takeaway is that it's already really started. Just look at this. Go to your own MLS and look to see what the number of new listings are right now. And this is not the normal time of year in most markets, less than you're Arizona type market, where you see this amount of activity going into the winter. It's usually the exact opposite. So from where Julie and I can see for all of our thousands of coaching clients, we think what's happening is the spring market's actually already started. So again, I could talk about this forever, and I wasn't really prepared to, but the point is that you guys are absolutely, if you've ever wondered what it feels like to be in the right place at the right time, it's how you feel right now.
So given, let's just say, okay, all that, we believe all that, right? Whether it happens or not, let's say we believe that. As an agent and as our agents that are on this and watching this, what should they be doing in preparation for that? What should they be focused on?
Okay, so I have a question for all of you, and I want you to take this question serious as if your rest of your business and your personal and financial lives depended on it, right? So we're going to play a little game, and the game is called, I don't have a name for it, but let's just say here's the challenge. We'll call it the listings challenge. If you had to take, let me make it realistic. If you had to take, I'm going to say 10 listings between now and the end of the year, that gives you roughly, better than 2 months. You got to factor in the holidays and whatnot, but let's just say better than 2 months. If you had to take 10 listings in the next 3 months between now and the end of the year, here's the question: what would you stop doing? So if your only focus was to take 10 listings between now and the end of the year, what would you stop doing? What would you absolutely positively stop doing? And I want you guys in chat to participate, right? So put over here in chat what you would stop doing. What are the things that you're spending your time and your money on, frankly, right now, that are standing in the way, or that, rather, I'll even make it more simple, that aren't going to lead directly to you taking one of those 10 listings? Because the Great Listings Challenge, the payoff is you get $1 million, adjust accordingly. If you're in some really expensive area of the country, let's make it 5 million, but you get the point. You get $1 million tax-free wired to you at the January 1st if you take 10 new listings between now and the end of the year. Okay, so what would you stop doing? Now, some of you are going to know how to do it, and you're already in momentum, and so go you. But in addition to what you already have going, 10 new listing opportunities. So if you've already got 10, so there you guys are getting it. Put comments in. What would you stop doing? Where are you spending most of your time right now? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are the things that you're doing that are not putting you in a position to be directly in front of a potential seller. And I'm not talking about buyers. Okay, I'll help. There you go. Chris got that one. Think about this, guys. If you had to take 10 listings between now and the end of the year because you really wanted that $1 million, would you be spending so much time on your marketing and your branding? Would you be spending time worrying about AI? Would you be spending time building your team? I mean, all those things have a place. I'm not saying that they don't, but is that what you'd be focused on right now? Would you be spending time, doing all the other things that agents are told that they have to do, working on your CRM, working on your drip campaign? Would you be doing those things if your only focus was to take 10 listings between now and the end of the year? What would you stop doing?
Here's what I love about that. Normally, what our minds are wired to think about is what we need to be doing. The question you're asking is something that is scrambling everyone's brain right now,
I'm
and
trying
that
to
is
trick them.
what they need to stop doing, right?
Right.
Um,
Well, it's because everyone has an answer, but most times when you ask them that, so okay, so I'll go to the second phase of this question. All right, so you now have in your list, hopefully you're making your list. A lot of great comments are coming in of the things you would stop doing. I'm not trying to be overly critical and saying the things that you're doing aren't worth doing. So don't take it personal because some of you guys are going to do that. But I'm just saying if your only mission in life is to take 10 listings between now and the end of the year, what would you stop doing? All right, now we're going to pivot. You have to take 10 listings between now and the end of the year. How are you going to do it? What do you, okay, look, everyone says the same thing, but here's the thing. All this stuff that you guys are putting in comments are the things that everyone else tells you to do. When was the last time you went to any kind of, event like this where someone was asking you a question, what should you stop doing? They're all telling you to build your team. They're all telling you to work on your branding. They're all telling you how to work. Look, I'm going to take a slight pivot, then I'll get back on task. Do you guys really think that branding and marketing going into this new AI world, do you really think that's going to be any benefit? How's that going to differentiate you? There are so many agents out there that since for the last 15 or so years have been essentially believing that marketing and branding and all of that's going to carry them into the end zone. And some of them have. It's worked for a while, but now when everyone, and so some of these guys have done really fantastic jobs creating very entertaining videos. I posted them on some of our social before. Some of them are hilarious. But when everybody and their brother through AI are able to start creating really top drawer, amazingly 4K, beautiful done, everything's perfect videos, everybody's doing it. There's no uniqueness to it anymore. And here, I want you guys to think about this. Sora 2 was effectively launched, what, a week ago? Maybe 10 days? Did you guys notice? It's like, so the belief is 30% of all the content on Instagram before Sora 2 was made by AI. I bet you in just the last 10 days, it's 90%. I mean, do you guys see those Bigfoots that are playing cards by the fireplace? Have you guys seen all those different videos? That's all being done by AI, and you cannot tell. And so we are right now, between now and the end of the year, you're all going to have access to Sora 2. And there's at least 5 or 6 different, Elon's going to do the same thing, where you're going to take your mobile phone. It's going to do a full body scan. It's going to listen to you talk. It's then going to create a one-for-one avatar of you. And then you're going to tell it to create a video that's about the benefits of living in, New Albany, Ohio, or whatever. It's then going to do the research, finding out what should be in the video. It's going to then look to see what the other videos are on YouTube, Reels, all the other places that have gotten a lot of views and interactions. It's going to write an original script. It's then going to make an avatar version of you doing the exact video that as if you'd spent hours and hours trying to master the lighting and getting your scripting down, all these things that people told you were important forever. And it's going to turn out as many of those damn things per day as you want. And that's what's going to happen. And so all of the emphasis that so many agents have been putting on marketing and branding over the last 15 years is going to largely become an exercise in futility. And I have to, from my perspective, it terrorizes me because there's a lot of agents that aren't going to listen to this. They aren't thinking like this. They're thinking, oh, AI, I can just create more content. Oh, that's what they're all saying, right? Well, great. Now that I have all these AI assistants, I'm going to be able to pound out more content, build my brand even more. Yes, but everyone else will too. So you lose your uniqueness completely if you ever had it in the first place. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So I'm going to pivot back. Chris, do you have any thoughts about that?
no, look, I think the point you just made is there's just going to be more noise, right? And there's with more noise, you're going to be heard less. So. focus on the things that, again, that you should stop doing. And now back to the pivot, what are the things that you should be doing?
Okay, so I want everyone to do this homework assignment for me right now, and it'll only take 2 seconds. And if you can't because you're on this webinar, I understand. I want you to go into your MLS. And here's the question, and I'll give you the assignment. If you had to take 10 listings the next, 90 days, let's say, and you were going to earn $1 million for doing it, that's not including the commissions. That's just straight up $1 million prize. How would you do it? I started out with what would you stop doing? We've just talked about that. Now I'm asking you, how would you do it? Some of you, most of you don't know. And I respect that. I completely understand that you don't know. And I'm telling you, after this webinar today, when you do know, if you choose not to do it, it's because you're choosing not to make 2026, frankly, your best year ever in real estate. Oh, I got really good news for you. Again, listen to our past podcasts we've done on this. There's every reason to believe that starting now, effectively, we're at the very beginning of what will be a 20 to 25 year super cycle in real estate. And this has happened before, where it's not a hockey stick, but the amount of home sales, the amount of all the opportunities that all of us want in real estate increase every year for the next 20 to 25 years. I'll give you guys the punchline reason why. Demographics. The sheer number of people that want to buy houses, that's it. Sheer number of people that want to sell houses, that's it. But it's like never before in the recorded history of humanity, not just America, where there's been this much potential demand for real estate. And then now you have an administration that's going to put all the fuel on the fire to really launch housing. All right, so we're getting into some answers. That's really good. I love it. These are all the right answers. Chris Chris knows where I'm going with this. All right, so if you had to take 10 listings in the next 90 days, that's it. Nothing else matters. We're not going to do all the marketing, the branding. We're not going to do all the rest of it. Look at the answers. My answer would be expired listings for sure. Now, centers of influence and past clients is definitely important, but you can't be guaranteed that they're going to do business. You want to take 10 listings between now and the end of the year. You're not going to get that from centers of influence and past clients. You're not going to get that from marketing and branding. And I didn't say buyers. Buyers have a place, but this is listings. Because if you want to have your best year ever, have at least 10 listings rolling into 2026. We'll lock that in, guaranteed. And I don't care what kind of market you're in, right? Now, here's the secondary homework assignment. Go to your MLS. And I want to all of you, because there's going to be some doubters. I can hear it. I can hear you talking. There's no expireds in my marketplace. Oh, yeah? Let's do it. Go to the MLS, for those of you who can, and I want you to tell me how many expired listings there were between, thus far in 2025. How many total expired listings? Do not try to, not just your little micro area that you look at, the entire MLS. And put in as few filters as possible. We just want a bulk number. Do expired and withdrawn. Give me a number. I did this the other day with someone who said there's no listing, there were no expireds, and there were 16,000 in their entire MLS. I'm trying to remember what market it was. And that's, it's just for the last 10 months, basically. And then they said, well, that's not our entire MLS. That we don't work that entire area. That's not realistic. Oh, okay, fine. Put in your filters. And it was 60, it went from 16,000 to 8,000. So half the expireds in their overall market was in their particular market that they were trying to obviously take more listings in. And the premise of our call, this was someone in our EXP Realty group, the premise in our call was they wanted to start some big marketing and branding thing. And I asked them why. And they said, well, we want to be known the go-to real estate people in our marketplace. Okay, so where does that lead? Well, when people have houses to sell, they'll think to call us, to which then I said, let's do the expireds. How many expireds were there? 8,000 viable sellers for you. Why don't you just go after those particular people that have already self-identified as being people that want to sell their damn houses? Why go through all this other rigmarole, establishing your brand and doing your marketing? Why don't you just go directly after the people that have their hand in their air, who you already know what, they already have a house to sell. There you go. You guys are getting it. So if you
here's what it is, Tim. In every market, what every agent will find is there are more than you could ever dream of getting. There are more than you could ever dream of getting your hands on.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. So just wrap your brains around this. The average sale price in the United States is right around 400 grand. We don't talk commissions, but let's just say the average commission is $10,000. That means, and guys, write this down. If you had 10 listings at all times, and I've done this math a million times, you guys can your math is probably better. I'm being too conservative than what I'm about to give you. But if you had 10 listings at all times, 10 active listings, normal residential houses, not some weirdo, lot that backs up to a garbage dump, just normal residential listings. You had 10 normal residential listings. Even in a buyer's market, on average, 3, maybe 4 of those will sell per month. That's no buyer sides. That's not you double ending. That's you having 10 active listings at all times. Okay, let's call it 4. So if your average commission is $10,000, that means you're making $480,000 a year. You know some of those sellers are going to have houses to buy. You know you're going to double in some of those listings. You know you're going to get more listings off the neighbors calling saying that you sold that house. You guys get it? 10 listings at all times, right? And I just gave you, and you're realizing now what I'm saying is true. Many of you are coming to the conclusion of why have I been spending so much time on all these other, acts of futility? And I need you to give yourself some grace. Because the reality of it is if your brain is going to be stuck on why have I been trying to do all these other things that haven't actually been working, and all the people in my ecosystem, have all been saying to do the same thing: the marketing, the branding, the building of the team, and all this stuff. And I know that's what the industry is focused on. And again, those things have a place. But the game that you're going to win at, the way you're going to have your best year ever, is to have 10 listings by the start of 2026. Because here's the magic of that. It's going to, your new life is this. You're going to wake up in the morning. The work part is going from 0 to 10. And some of you already have more than 10 now, which is awesome. But the work part is going from where you are now to have 10 listings. Cut through all your BS. Focus on expired listings. Pick up the damn phone. Have the meaningful conversations with the sellers. Use a proven pre-listing pack. Do the things. Do the work. Do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. And if you have 10 conversations with decision-making adults about selling their homes per day, and you want to take, your goal is to have 10 listings at all times, that's your formula. 10 contacts will equal 10 listings at all times. It's psychological. I don't know why it works that way, but it does. But here's where it gets beautiful. When you get up to 10 listings, and every single one of you that are paying attention right now, because not all of you are paying attention, can take 10 listings by the end of the year. When you have 10 listings and 3 or 4 of them start to sell per year, again, that's not you. That's just you taking 10 listings and being a listing agent. The 3 or 4 become the listings you have to replace every month. So your whole business plan is to get to 10 listings. Oh, some of them are going to sell along the way. Thank God, right? But get up to 10 active listings. Your minimum standard is 10 active listings at all times, 3 or 4 sell per month. And then your whole business plan is to prospect the expireds, replace the ones that sell, and always have a minimum of 10 listings at all times. You tell me how that business plan won't work for all of you to make 2026 your best year ever. Tell me why. Put it in comments. Why would that not work for every one of you? Does that cost you? Does my plan cost you anything? Nope. It costs you time. It costs you some ego, setting aside ego, because you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to admit that you are, maybe consciously incompetent, and you're going to have to learn what you need to know. You're going to have to, there you go. And it's free. That's it. And so why do people resist this? You tell me. There's some of you listening right now that are going, oh, this Harris guy, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to do more marketing and branding. Why? If your goal of the marketing branding is get people to recognize you as being a real estate professional that they're going to do business with, so then they'll want to list their houses with you, why go through all the trials and tribulations of doing all that, especially considering, as I've hopefully just proven to you with AI, it's all going to become ubiquitous. Do what other people aren't doing. Everybody else is rushing to the marketing and the advertising, the branding, and yada, yada, yada. Hardly anybody is telling you guys to do what Chris and I are telling you to do right now.
Here's the answer to why they won't do it. I've tried it before, it didn't work. Everyone else is calling the expireds. They always hang up on me. I don't know what to say. I can't get past, them saying they're not going to relive. Like, there's all those considerations, all those mindset issues. Now, some of those are skill issues, right? And we have solutions for that. I mean, I have agents using SalesGo to role play their expired calls, and every one of them we survey all of them. All of them said it has helped them get better. It has helped them improve. So just role playing and practicing is something that we know works.
Well, I agree, Chris, but here's the challenge. And you know this too, because you and I have similar backgrounds. If you tell them that they have to role play They're going to role play till the cows come home. And though I do love your app, it's awesome. I watch your stuff on Instagram. But what the best role play partner known to man is definitely going to be the seller. Would you agree?
It is. I did, but I also am a believer that you don't practice on your prospects. It's like a Major League Baseball player. The playoffs are going right now. The players don't say, oh, I'm not going to take batting practice because I'm going to get 3 or 4 at bats in the game tonight, right? No, they take batting practice every day.
The
Practice.
answer is do both, right? I mean, earn while you learn, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is, and Chris, you coached a zillion people too, but the reality of it is if we give them, if we give an analytical person an excuse to learn and get ready to get started, they're never going to get ready to get started, right? And if you
Yeah.
take that same analytical person and they're learning while they're earning, then they actually are going to learn under pressure and they're going to earn and they're going to actually scale the mountain faster than if they just, sat around and, tried to learn everything, get everything exactly started. That,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it is like it is the best way, right? You want to learn to swim, just jump in the pool. All right. It's
Yep.
don't spend 3 months watching YouTube videos and everything else. Just
Or even questioning, like, how do you guys feel right now? I mean, just put it in the comments. I just gave you really what some of you will think is an oversimplified business plan, but it's not. And anybody who follows, we have somebody in our EXP Realty group. His name is Chuck Williamson. You guys can look this up, but you will not find any information on him, and I'll tell you why. So I know what Chuck will earn to himself, probably $2 million, and he sells in this little town in North Carolina called Wilson. It's town. His average sale price is like 275. And what does he do? Exactly what I just said. He just basically goes after the expireds every day. He is younger than me. And when I first started talking to him, I had to show him how to use Facebook. He does no marketing and branding. He has his signs because he has signs everywhere. He does it for him. And I just told you what his net is. So if he earns $1 million because of the way he runs his business, he'll keep 900,000. And you know what he's done that most other agents don't ever do? It's because he's got monster net income. He has made himself legitimately wealthy, buying rental properties, buying stocks. When he and I contact, when we're speaking nowadays, that's what we talk about. We talk about wealth building. I don't have to help him with the skills anymore. We talk about wealth building because he's learned to build a very, very profitable real estate business. Look, guys, at the end of the day, I've been doing this for so long. I've had so many people that have showed up in our lives that are in their 40s and their 50s and sometimes in their 30s that have had the business brainwash them into doing the things that did not get them the goals that they were hoping to accomplish in their lives, but by that point, by the age in which I was speaking to them. And that honestly breaks my heart. And that realization that my highest and truest purpose and my wife's and all of our coaches is to uh, you know be of service to all of you has given me permission to no longer be politically correct at all about whatever the industry is trying to tell you guys to do. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's getting that call when you're 45 or you're 55 and you've got no money saved. I'm the one that's getting that call where I have to help you realize that you can still make something of your life. I'm the one that has to give you a graceful exit from your, why didn't my team work out? Or all this marketing and branding, or I went for some, big seminar and they're all telling me to do all this, Mickey Mouse and never ever worked. So what happens is when you start doing the marketing and the branding, and I'm talking too much about that, but I'm hopefully making a point here, is that you can make your best year ever 2026 if you focus on taking a certain number of listings. If you just focus on that one activity and set aside all the other time wasting activities. Because what happens is, especially now because of AI, if you do put your best efforts towards those other things and they don't work, you're going to blame yourself. You're going to say, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm not pretty enough, I'm whatever it is. And you're going to start tearing yourself down where you could have used that same energy, that same motivation to focus on becoming the absolute best kick-ass expired hunter in your marketplace. And look, I'm going to give you guys a little advanced player tips here. We are coming up right now towards, it's absolutely the best time of the year to hunt expireds. So I'm going to give you guys, write this in your notes. Number one, call expireds during on the last day and the first day of the month. Now, the last day and the first day, because most listing agents will have their listings expired in the last day and the first day. And if you look statistically, that's when there's the most increase in expireds. Number two, call expireds on the last day of the first day where it falls over a holiday. Because if it falls over a holiday, that means everybody's home. It means everyone's generally in a good mood, and it means none of your competitors are doing anything, which means you're going to be the only one calling them. Number three, Set your minimum response. If your magic number, if that's what the 10 listings was, is the magic number of listings you need at all times to meet or exceed your financial expectations. If your number is 5, it might be 10. If you have a lower sale price, it might actually be higher. But the moral of the story is whatever your number is, you have to make that number of contacts every single day. Centers of influence and past clients, those are great, but that's not what I'm talking about. Circle prospecting, honestly, that's not so great, but I'm not talking about that. I'm saying right now, like Heller said, jump in the deep end and go after the expireds. That's where you're going to get the most response. But you call when other people aren't calling. You work when other people aren't working. You do what other people aren't willing to do. You all have heard this before, and you're going to experience things that other people never will. If the market, if all the real estate zeitgeist is going in this direction, you've got to understand that's where the competition is going to be. Go the other way. Who right now is actually doing, okay, Chris said, everyone's calling expireds. And when Chris and I, were working together a long time ago, that was true, but it's not that true now. Everyone does direct mail. That's what they're doing. Very few people actually call nowadays. So if you call, you're going to find so let's say you are in a market where there's some other people calling. What makes you think it's the actual agent, not some VA? What makes you think don't use a VA to call? What makes you think they know how to overcome objections? What makes you think they know how to overcome we decided to keep the house, right? The normal thing that a seller says when you first make contact with them. What makes you think that listing agent or that prospecting agent, even if they're able to set an appointment, knows how to pre-qualify, has a really good pre-listing pack? This is the time of year where you accept the fact, again, that your highest and truest purpose in this plan is to be of service to other people. And the best way for you to do that right now, if your goal is to make 2026 your best year ever, is to definitely go after expired listings. That's the reason I'm so excited, Chris.
Tim, I'm hearing other questions. When do I call? How many times a day do I call? What do I leave messages? These are
Can
all
I give them the non-analytical answer?
Yep.
Okay, so there's, you can track your ratios, you can do your numbers analyzation, and you can say this many dials equals this many answers equals this many, appointments set equals this many listings taken. You can break all that down. Again, I've seen so many people get lost in all that analytical data that there's value to it, but I'll tell you where the real punchline is. And this, again, this is the bottom line. You call every day until you set one pre-qualified listing appointment. That's the bottom line. You call every day until you set one pre-qualified listing appointment. And obviously, if you're calling in the morning, you're going to get people that are, more responsive, and they're going to answer the phone. As far as a system to use, Chris, do you mind if I pitch RedX?
No, not all.
Okay, so I'm going to put something in the chat.
I love that product.
Yeah, me too. Is that what you use, Chris?
Yes.
Me too. Actually, it wasn't around when we were prospecting, but we used what they became. All right, there you go. Text the word red, R-E-D, to 47372, and they'll text you back a $150 discount. But RedX will actually give you the phone numbers. They do all the research for you. You turn on your computer in the morning and you hit the button, and basically you can even use them as an auto dialer. You have your scripts on the wall, and you basically just prospect. And you prospect every day until you set one pre-qualified listing appointment. That's advanced player mode. Some of you are going to, if you play the contacts game, you're never going to actually win, because the contacts game is, oh, I made my 10 contacts, but you didn't set an appointment. So it's a learning curve. It's really how it works. The first thing is getting people to do it. The second thing is to get them to make the desired number of contacts to do it. Then, a lot of them play games with that. Oh, I called at this time of day. And well, you're calling in the middle of the day when nobody was home. Is it a really big mystery why you didn't get anybody answering? Okay, then they start calling when people answer, and then they start making contacts. They celebrate the contacts. That's something to celebrate. And then the next learning curve is, how do we convert those contacts to actually setting appointments? All right, so why didn't you set an appointment with this one? And then as a coach, I don't do this anymore, but my coaches do, you'd listen on a call to them calling, and you listen to what they're saying and they're not saying. And there's a lot of little nuanced differences. Most times, frankly, what you hear is the agent is doing whatever the hell they can to get off the damn phone. They're looking for the simplest reason to hang up so they can no longer have to prospect. But when you move past all these natural things, here's the miracle of it all. As soon as you set one expired appointment, you'll realize it's fairly easy. Once you've done it enough times, you'll realize the sellers all say the same damn thing. Okay, they always say the same objections at the same time. So it's almost like they're being coached by somebody what to say when you guys call. All these things are true. But then you realize, you go, holy crap, I am now able every single day to make my desired number of contacts. I'm now getting to the point where I can set one pre-qualified listing appointment a day. I'm sending my pre-listing pack. I'm going to my listing presentations. I set 5 listings. Let's say one of them flaked out. I went on 4. I took 3. I'm now taking, do the math, guys. That's how this works. Or you could worry about more TikTok videos. Or you could, work on your branding or your marketing. But if your goal is to help people and to make money, I just gave you the formula for it. Look, I know not all of you, I know very few of you, frankly. I'm not stupid. Are you going to do it? But those of you who are, I celebrate you. I celebrate you having the courage to do what other people aren't willing to do, because on the other side of that, you're going to experience things that most people never ever experienced before. You wonder how people go from, like Chris, from selling, or frankly, Julie and I, from going and selling real estate to now, being way on the other side of that. It's because we did what we didn't want to do when we didn't want to do it at the highest level. Never one day did I ever wake up wanting to prospect. I hated it, but I loved what came as a result. Chris, do you think you have to be passionate to be successful about what you're doing?
No, no,
Okay.
there were way more days than not that I didn't want to do what I was doing. But the difference, like you said, is that I did it anyways. And what I wanted and what was important to me was way more important than how I felt or what I wanted to be doing in that moment or not wanting to be doing in that moment. Right. It's like I had something that was way more important that would cause me to do the things I didn't want to do, especially when I didn't want to do them.
Yeah. And if you guys are thinking, sometimes when you say, like, this is just true, but it offends people. And I've always been interested why it offends people. And I've spent too much time figuring out, but I won't bore you with that. But when people say, follow your passion, the money will follow, that is a lie. Because the truth is if you're following your passion, eventually, and you're having to do it to earn a living, that thing is no longer going to be your passion. But here's the real poison of that, is because what happens if you no longer feel passionate about the very thing that you decided to do for your living? And then you're saying, well, I don't feel passionate about it anymore. Then you then are going to go from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other. You guys understand? So let's say, for example, you got into real estate, you're passionate about it, whatever that emotional state was, but you're no longer passionate about it. For whatever reason, you're no longer passionate about it. So I guess I'm not passionate about it, so I'm never going to be destined to be successful at it. I'm going on to the next thing. And that's what most people do their entire lives. But the real truth is be passionate with what comes as a result of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do at the highest level. Be passionate for the lifestyle that you are able to afford for you and your family. Be passionate about the money you can donate to your church. Be passionate about the freedom that you have, the sense of freedom that all of you will have. If you had 10 listings at all times, think about that. So back to our little story, right? You've taken it seriously. You now have your 10 listings. It's now the beginning of the year. You now have a lifestyle of every day you get up at a certain time, you pray, you meditate, you do your exercise, you show overt gratitude to the important people in your life. These are minimum standards you should be doing every day. And then you're going to make your number of contacts every day. Because you've gotten good at it, that today there were, 30 expired. You're going to get contact with 15 of them. And from the 15, you're probably going to have an opportunity to set, like on average, when people have been doing it for a while, like I bet you when Heller was doing it, I bet you no more than 7 contacts that Chris would make, he'd probably set a listing appointment. Exactly. And so that's basically where people get. So those are your numbers. You might even be better than that. Some of you probably are. And then what's going to happen is every single day, you're going to wake up, you're going to do the real work of real estate, which is what I just described to you. You're going to have your 10 listings at all times. You're going to be making your consistent money. What does that give you? What does that afford in your life? What have you just given yourself permission to stop thinking about or stop worrying about? I mean, it's freedom. Is that the real reason you guys got into real estate? I mean, think about that. Put in comments. Why did you get into real estate originally? Was it to build your brand? Was it to do all these other things? Many of you got into real estate because you wanted to have freedom, and the freedom that only comes from being financially independent, where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money. Where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money. All of you are working for your money. Some of you, I'm sure, are not. But the only way that's going to happen is if you have net income and then you invest that net income. If you put, for example, $10,000 in the S&P 500 8 years ago, it's now worth 20,000. If you were to start putting money every single month that you're now spending, on things that aren't generating business for you, if you were to start making more profit from your business and start investing in something as innocuous as the S&P 500, all of you will be millionaires, if not multimillionaires. And then you invest, and then you can pull out the dividends or the capital gains, and you can just start living off that. There are defined ways that all of you can easily afford, if you do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level, proven paths to becoming financially free within 5 years or less, where you can just live off your passive income. It's not a mystery. It's been done. People have been doing this forever. Chris and I know droves of them in real estate, and they're the ones that keep their heads down. They're the ones that don't peacock around at the real estate conventions with their 27 other agents that are all, those aren't the ones that are actually producing massive net income. And I'm not rallying against those people. I love those people too. But what I know is that because they're not focused on net income, I know what they're going to be feeling and thinking when they're older. They're going to be wishing they would have did what they didn't want to do when they didn't want to do it at the highest level and saved more money and invested more money when they were younger. That is what everybody wants the older you get. So what are you thinking, Chris?
I think like every agent has the same disease. It's the disease of overcomplicating things. And what we've been talking about for the last, 35, 40 minutes is how to simplify things. And I hope that as you're listening to this, you're resisting that temptation to overcomplicate, to overanalyze, to overquestion, and just get in action. It's as simple as that. Tim, we've both said this a million times. Real estate is a very simple business. It is a very simple business. It's hard, right? We're not going to say it's easy because it's not, but it's very simple. The problem is that most agents overcomplicate it, right? They have this, their brain can't accept the simplicity of it.
The gift.
Yeah, the gift of the simplicity.
Yeah, that's true. And so have you ever, in all your thinking about this, ever wondered why that's true? Because it is true. Is it why? Why is it the agents like Chris, this is just the simplest, easiest way for them to make $500,000 in most markets. And look, there is skills required. It is going to require, again, I know I've said this too many times, but you'll hear it a million times when you start listening to our podcast. You got to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level, right? It's like going to the gym. It's like building meaningful relationships with, it's about getting good at anything. But once you've accepted that's the only way forward, and you stop trying to pursue your passion and become a real estate influencer and all that, because again, that ship is so sailed, it doesn't even matter anymore. Once you get past that and you realize 10 listings at all times, for many of you, it could be even half that if your average sale price is $1 million. That does give you freedom. Why the hell do you want to make it more complicated than that? I want to know. Put in comments. Help me and understand. It'll help me to become a better podcaster and coach because I truly don't understand it. Why? Help me understand. I want you guys to participate, please. Help me, coach me. Why is it that people...
I'll give you some of my thoughts and answers on that because I have thought about that a million times, right? It's like you'll be in a room with 1,000 agents at a conference and Tim or someone is speaking about this, and you look around and the vast majority of them are never going to do it. And you go, why? Why? Like everyone's getting the same information, everyone's getting the same blueprint on how to be successful, but why don't they follow it? They think they have to make it more complicated to justify, their existence, to justify their commissions or whatever. It's too easy to have excuses. They have too much trauma from the past. Could be from their childhood, could be from anywhere that they've carried forward that's preventing them from taking action, right? It's the fear of rejection. It's the fear of acceptance. It's the fear of success. It's all these fears, all these considerations. And the list goes on and on and on. But if you can cut through all the noise and put the blinders on, truly put the blinders on, and simply focus on the task at hand and just doing it and doing it like your business and your family and your livelihood depends on it, you'll win.
Yeah. Yes. And I agree 100%. And I was thinking while you were talking, Chris, that I was on a Clubhouse. You guys remember Clubhouse? This is a number of years ago and doing something similar to this. And I was still trying to work the question about why people make it so complicated. I was trying to work it out. And one of the sort of learning arcs that I've gone through is the realization that at different times in your life, different things matter. Obviously, that's true. I'm 55, and I remember when I was younger, when Julie and I first got into real estate, I really enjoyed I mean, when we sold 100 houses our first year in business, we were real estate famous. This was before the internet. So it was, we were just all this, and we had way too much attention. And I remember the first time we were it was a Remax event, and we were getting all these agents they stood in line. And Julie and I were just a couple poor kids that weren't poor anymore from Columbus, Ohio. And I remember after being on stage, these people stood in line to have us freaking sign their programs. It's like, what are we doing? But I'd never had that kind of attention before. So we got sucked into it. And I look back, and then we went from being very focused on making that income, like I'm describing for you guys. And we did that very consistently for the first 3 to 5 years. And then we became Howard Brinton stars. And then we were around, other than maybe a handful of people, at the time there were 60 or 75 Howard Brinton stars. And in real estate at that time, becoming a Howard Brinton star was pretty much the highest like recognition, honor you could possibly get. So I remember going to these Howard Brinton events where there's just the stars that were involved. And some of you guys have been in the business for a long time. You'll remember these. And I was really disappointed consistently, not because I didn't love the people and because they weren't super nice, and some of them were still our friends and just all these things, but because this was before Gary Keller wrote all of his books. This was before teams became popular. They're just starting to become popular. This is before marketing and branding really became a thing. This is back in the 90s. And I remember all of these folks that at the time, Julie and I were in our 20s, and these guys were all at my age now. They were all focused on the marketing and the branding and the buying of the business, and not on net profit. And I remember my mission when Julie and I got into the business, and you can actually read our original National Association of Realtors interview from 1996 or 5 or whatever it is, where we say our goal is to basically, we didn't have it completely formulated, but we wanted to essentially have enough paid off investment properties that could retire by the time we were 40. We accomplished it, but I was 41 and Julie was 40. So we accomplished our goal. But here's where I'm telling you all this, because we started out being focused on proactive lead generation and having a massive net profit. And what we always did is we had ourselves in contract on a rental property at all times to keep ourselves under pressure to always have the money to buy the damn house. And we just constantly did that to keep ourselves under pressure. Then we started getting all this attention. Then we stumbled across the ego stuff, the marketing, the branding, the advertising, the big team. We bought a moving truck. We had 4 full-size Suburbans that had our URL down the side. We did all that crap. We had our Homes magazine. We did all this. And I remember we bought this big, beautiful brick house in New Albany Country Club, 6,500 square feet for Julie and I have 4 cats. We didn't have kids then. So I remember our accountant comes in, and his name's Fred, and he puts our tax returns down from our first year in the business to the year that this is 3rd or 4th, something like that year. And we had made more net income our rookie year in the business than we'd made after we had all this attention, all this Tim and Julie are this amazing, blah, 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 blah. Have you heard about, all this national attention, Howard Brinton stars, more National Association of Realtors magazines? We had totally been bamboozled. We totally had been brainwashed. And we had allowed other people's goals for themselves to co-op our goals. Who? All the people that wanted us to promote marketing and branding. All the people. So our goal of net profit, so we could become rich, and rich is merely where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money, had been essentially derailed in favor of what other people were telling us we should find more important than basically being rich and free. You guys understand? And then I remember when he put it down, the accountant, Fred, didn't say anything. And I looked at the numbers, Julie looked at the numbers, and she and I didn't talk about it for like 6 months. Because we had to accept the fact that we'd made a mistake. And we did. And you know what we did? Got rid of all of it. Got rid of all that BS. Got rid of all of it, stopped doing it, and we started getting back on the phones. And Julie and I, we ended up with only 4 team members. We originally had like 16. And we got back on the phone, and we started prospecting again. And guess what happened? It still worked. Net income went up. And we went right back on our path of wealth building. And I look back. So at different points in your life, different things have value to you. And when you're younger, there's something I think fundamentally important in all of us that wants us to feel recognition. We want to be recognized. We want to feel important. We want to peacock. Look at Instagram if you don't believe me, right? And then as you get older, what happens is in your 30s, if you're lucky, you outgrow that. Some people never outgrow it, but most people sort of look back over their shoulder and realize how important it was to them what other people thought about them when they're in their 30s. And then they get into their 40s, and then they really stop caring about that. And then when they get into their 50s, they look over their shoulders and they wish they never would have enacted or they never would have participated in all that ego crap in the first place. So I'm in this clubhouse telling what I just told you guys, and this guy comes on, and I sort of recognize his name. I think I knew him from Howard. And then he started telling the story, and it literally made me cry. And he did not say his age. I suspected he was in his 60s and 70s. And all he wanted to do was reinforce what I just told you guys, what his life experience had been, and how he deeply regretted doing anything other than keeping essentially a high profit margin listings focused business, and how he himself had allowed all of his potential to be derailed chasing all these other shiny objects, the marketing, the branding, the team building, and all this stuff. I'm sorry if that offends any of you, but I don't want you to suffer needlessly. And I have to do every time I have the opportunity, whether it's on our podcast or doing things like this, I have to leave it all in the field. So I help you move past. So when I'm talking to you, when you're in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, you're not saying, I wish I would have. You're saying, thank God I did. That's what everybody wants. That's what you're going to want, I promise you. And so will your family.
All right, Tim, that's awesome. Awesome, awesome. All right, we have 9 minutes left. Um, I got to imagine some of you have questions or thoughts in your head you want to get out. So if you have questions, put them in chat and we will get to them. While we're waiting for people to come up with their questions, hold on, let me change this so I can see all of chat. Tim, what's the one thing that people on here should do when this webinar is over?
I'm gonna be self-serving. Actually, I won't be. I'll be partially self-serving. Listen to our podcast. It's the number one listened to daily downloaded real estate coaching and training podcast in America. We're almost always in our section on iTunes. We're almost always 3 or 1 or 5 or something. But listen to our podcast, and it's easily found. We've been doing it for 14 years, so we have literally thousands of past podcasts. And that's what I'll suggest all of you do. Listen to Julie and I's podcast. And we're doing these masterminds. I put it in there already. It's harrismastermind.com. Go to our mastermind. Julie and I are doing 3 more, I think, this year, maybe more. And you can register to join. They're 2 hours long, and we're focusing on helping agents move past the 3 biggest challenges they're having in the marketplace right now. But you can just go to harrismastermind.com. But if I could only do one thing, so between now and the end of the year, I would be absolutely unbelievably focused. I would not allow myself to go into complacency mode for the rest of the year. I would fight like hell to make today's date, the 16th of October, my official January 1st. And I would start being intolerant of my insatiable desire to be comfortable. I would stop looking at everything as good enough. I would challenge the environment that I find myself in mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually, and look at this as an opportunity. Maybe it's this podcast, right? I would look at it as an opportunity to hit a hard reset on your life, because the market is 100% going to be there to service all of your wildest ambitions about what you want for your life. But if you are a laggard in realizing what I just said is true, you're going to let a year go by, 2 years go by, 3 years go by, and you're going to say, well, I was going to still try that, or still try this, still try the other thing, where you're then going to say a year from now, 2 years from now, I wish I would have. You got to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do at the highest level. And if you make a list of all the things you guys don't want to do when you don't want to do at the highest level, if you make a list, it's all the things that get you paid the fastest. Isn't that funny? It's all the furiously fast lead follow-up. It's the calling of the expireds. It's calling, not just mailing your centers of influence and past clients. It's learning how to work probate. It's learning how to work for sale by owners. All the things that you absolutely are religiously opposed to doing are the things that are going to get you paid the most money, but do require the most skill. But once you've mastered the skill, which doesn't take you that long, then you have the first step in freedom.
All right, a couple of questions that popped up. Teal, who had a great comment too, that comfort is like concrete shoes. So be uncomfortable. Her question was, what's in a good pre-listing package?
Well, I'll give you a picture of one. You guys will have to go there. Let me remember. I'll put it in. I'll put it in comments. There's. You can look at this. The same ones on both sites. I'll put another one. And you can scroll down these pages, you can see it. So what a pre-listing pack is basically it's your silent salesperson. Your job is to, when you're calling people, don't try to overcome objections. Your appointment is the goal. So when you're calling folks, they're going to hit you with objections. I'm going to advance. Your number one job is to pick up the phone and make the contacts. And then when you're speaking with the decision-making adult, your secondary position is to set the appointment and then pre-qualify them. And don't try to overcome objections while you're after you've set the appointment. After you've set the appointment, then what you do is you send your pre-listing pack. The pre-listing pack, what it does is it actually is going to do most of the heavy lifting for you. It's going to answer your question about the commission. It's going to answer the question about your marketing plan. It's going to answer all the questions about communication. It's going to answer all the questions. So a good pre-listing pack, you deliver it prior to going on the appointment, is going to do all the heavy lifting of the listing appointment for you. Because if you've gotten to the seller's house, Julie says this in her book, don't go if you don't know. If you don't know what the seller's motivation is, if you don't know if the seller has what they owe in their house, make sure it's all the loans. If you don't know what the seller's time frame is, if you don't know if you're competing, if you don't have all the questions from the pre-qualified script that we give you in Premier Coaching answered prior to getting there, chances are you're not going to take the listing. So don't go if you don't know. And then when you send the pre-listing pack and the seller looks at it, the pre-listing pack is going to answer usually 95% of all the seller's questions. And when you get to the seller's house, your listing appointment is maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And you follow our listing appointment that we give you as part of Premier Coaching. And many of you guys don't have a listing appointment. And so if you're showing up at the seller's house and you're having to overcome objections about commissions or any of the things, even list price, you're probably not going to take the listing because you're bringing discomfort into that seller's life. You don't want to have to be on your heels. And guess what? They don't want to have to feel like they're interrogating you. They want to go back to watching Wheel of Fortune or whatever the hell they're doing, right? So send the pre-listing pack. The pre-listing pack does most of we call it your silent salesperson. And then when you get there, just follow our listing appointment. It's very easy. And then you're off to the races. The challenge, the thing that gives you the most challenge is going to be picking up the phone and setting the appointment in the first place. After that, when you follow our 7-step listing process, frankly, it's very easy. It just is. We have brand new agents. Like you will literally take listings as a brand new agent if you just send our pre-listing pack, which is part of Ethical Real Estate Professional, which I put right there. Yeah. If you just send our pre-listing pack, why? Because nobody else sends one. And if they do, it doesn't look like ours that you will have because you're an ethical real estate professional. You guys get it? So just by sending the pre-listing pack that has you as an ethical real estate professional immediately gives you an advantage. Then if you show up on time, you dress professionally, knock, 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 they open the door, Mr. Seller. Chris, you'll remember this. Mr. Seller, before I take another step in your door, I want you to know that I'm 100% committed to getting this home sold. Then you walk in the door and then you do a quick survey. If they're not wearing shoes in their house, take your shoes off. Don't ask them to take your shoes off. Take your shoes off. Mr. Seller, show me to the kitchen table. You guys get it? There's a process. It's a step-by-step process. And once you master it, then you laugh because it's so easy. Because you're realizing, why have I been making it so damn hard? And then you want more of it. And then you say, you know what? Getting to 10 listings wasn't so hard. Now I want 20. Boof. Now you're making not $480,000 a year, but $1 million a year. That is the system.
All right, well, Tim, thank you. You're on fire. Thank you everyone for being here. Hey, did everyone get value out of this? Do you have at least one idea or one thought that you're going to implement? Put it in chat right now if you did.
Or if you didn't, don't put it in chat. Keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself. Tell it to someone who cares. All right. Tim, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. Can't thank all of you for being here and joining us. We know you're committed to getting better. That's why you're here. We appreciate you being part of our community, and we will continue to do these to bring as much value to you as possible. If you have friends in the business that should be hearing this information, invite them to our next webinar. It's open to everyone. Thanks again. Everyone have a great and productive rest of the week.
God bless.